Written and directed by Bob Giordano, we are talking Gates of Flesh. And this is a low-budget demonic possession movie. It's not like a kind of Exorcist movie. It actually reminds me a little bit of the Demons movies, in particular Demons 2. I have seen people compare this to the Evil Dead movies, but I wouldn't say that personally. What's the story? It focuses on a group of survivors after there has been a worldwide demonic outbreak because God has dead. Now we don't see any of this. This is, you just kind of like get these people kind of mid-running away the first day into this kind of apocalyptic event effectively. And they run into this building which looks like it's some type of university or college or something like that. And they're kind of held up there. But these demons are a little bit like a kind of a viral infection. It kind of infects people. And one of them is infected and potentially passing it on to someone else. And obviously when someone is affected, well, by the looks of it, they seem to go to kind of be possessed by the spirit of Heath Ledger's Joker, basically. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So let's discuss. Now, this is a very, very low budget movie. I would even possibly suggest to you that this could even be a student film. The fact that it looks like it's pretty much filmed at a university, I would wager here, and it's not got a lot of production value in it, so maybe this is a student film. I don't know, that's just my speculation. But anyway, what can we say that works? It's obviously quite an ambitious movie in regard to its plot, and you know, the movie doesn't try to overextend itself by showing the events that are leading up to this. We get a little bit of kind of stock footage and things, but you know, it can't afford to kind of do that, so it's kind of giving you this perspective of these kind of small band of survivors part way through this apocalypse. But it's nonetheless an interesting kind of setup for this particular kind of movie. The way these demons kind of manifest is they sort of possess someone and they sort of become sort of corrupted almost. And although, you know, the effects aren't brilliant, I still thought they looked relatively fun, to be honest. You know, you've got, it comes down to a little bit of makeup and a little bit of kind of CGI on the face. But I've got to say, again, for a low budget movie, I actually kind of think, you know, it kind of works. You know, they've got like a modulated voice and stuff like that, but generally speaking, I thought, oh, do you know what? Again, I've seen worse. They haven't gone too overboard with making look you know, over the top kind of effects. I actually think what they have done, like almost like a corruption sort of style aesthetic, I have to say, I kind of enjoyed it. And you know, it's a little bit of a point here where these demons are trying to sort of manipulate people and things like this, and how are these kind of like people getting possessed? What is the reason why certain people seem to be possessed and others don't? So there's some interesting kind of ideas kind of banded around. Now that's pretty much as far as I can say in regards to the positives. The negatives, now this is such a low budget movie. It really is only going to appeal to those of you who will watch a very low budget movie and where it's the low budget is very apparent. I think sometimes low budget movies can kind of circumvent their sort of low budget aesthetic and sometimes appeal to fans of films that don't really watch a lot of low budget. But not in this case. This one really, you know, the budget is clearly very sort of, or the lack of budget is very much on display, should I say. The fact that we really have just one location, and this is a location which doesn't seem to have any type of damage But many believe this is some type of apocalyptic event. It's completely untouched. Alright then, you know, I guess they couldn't wreck it for making this film. And it's basically a series of conversations in this one location with actors that are, whilst I will say they're not the terrible actors I've ever seen. I mean, I have seen worse, but they're not exactly giving you full-on kind of DiCaprio drama here. Let me just kind of say it like that. Yeah, the acting is, you know, low-budget B-movie acting. It's not exactly high drama. And the, as I've kind of alluded to, how these demons kind of present, I sort of quite like the aesthetic. Maybe some people will be deterred by some of the sort of the more overt CGI. They kind of end up doing a little bit of like face morphing, and that goes a little bit too looks like face morphing. But what I didn't like really was the way these kind of demons sort of their personality, so to speak. It just, you just feel like you're ripping off Heath Ledger's Joker. You know, that's what it looks like. You know, he's trying to be this kind of like crazy, crazy unpredictable kind of personality, like Heath Ledger's Joker. So yes, it's kind of like, the demons of Heath Ledger's Joker versus basically a bunch of kind of mediocre actors in one location and just lots of kind of talking. That's basically the film. It's not particularly interesting. It's a very, very dialogue heavy movie with a hell of a lot of exposition. And the point of this movie is that these people know that these demons are manipulative, right? But they still allow themselves to get manipulated. You know, it's silly. It's just silly. I mean, you can have a dialogue-driven movie if the dialogue is smart and it's delivered by, you know, capable actors who can seem charismatic or have good dramatic chops. When you have a low-budget movie because it can't afford to do any kind of like spectacle or set pieces or even a lot of location shooting, and it's really relying on just sort of a dialogue movie. You know, but it's really lacking in, as I say, sensible dialogue delivered by capable kind of actors that sort of make sense in a narrative sense. But this one doesn't have any of those, unfortunately. I mean, like I said, the acting out of all of those is not the worst I've ever seen. But the dialogue is very trite. And I say it's trying to kind of, as I say, be influenced by other media, and it's very apparent. And the decisions made by, you would hope, rational people, I won't allow myself to get through manipulated by them. We're just not going to talk to it. It's just going to try and manipulate us. We won't talk to it, or we'll get rid of it, or we'll move on, or something like that. None of those things happen. It's just like very like, this movie is ill-conceived. So yeah, it's not a particularly strong recommendation, you might say. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. Some aesthetics I liked, some of the ambition of the story at large that I liked, not that we see much of it, but what we actually see is not really worth seeing. So 3 out of 10. Have you seen it? What were your thoughts? Leave them a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time.